Over here.
Well, I think my dad won a lottery.
Is that right?
He won 500 crowns, I think. So he took off and left my mother holding the bag, I guess. So I imagine we had to sell out all our furniture. He came over first, and then we come over later. He went to work at the Art Metals because I had an uncle that was foreman down there.
Gotcha.
And I always say he left ahead of the lawyers and stuff. I guess I don't want to mention lawyer. But anyway, I said he probably run out. So she probably, when we first sold the furniture, she probably had to pay the tax on it. So.
Now, did you have siblings? Any other brothers or sisters?
I was the only child for 13 years.
Right.
And boy, I wanted a brother or sister. Everybody had brothers and sisters but me. Well, at 13, I could have cared less because I was a built-in babysitter. Then they had 3 boys in quick succession. One died. And I always wanted to ask my dad what happened in between, but I never had the nerve. Well, we lived several places. We lived on McKinley Avenue when we first come over here. And then they bought a house up on Frederick Boulevard. And both mother and dad worked. So they had one car, so somebody had to take the streetcar. And I was back and forth, so I guess we lived there 2 or 3 years. And then we moved back to He sold the house and moved back to Jamestown.
What'd your mother do?
Well, she worked in one Ideal Pureless Laundry, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They all just hired Swedes because they knew how to wash clothes, I guess.
Well, a lot of them were domestics. I mean, that was a major thing when I know my grandmother came over here. That was a major part of their work. Was that part of it.
And some of them come over here as the nature or deventured servants or something. You paid their way over, and then they had to work for you. I was born a Lutheran, and I was baptized Lutheran,
right.
And I was confirmed a Lutheran, but I'm a Baptist by marriage.
Yeah.
We were baptized together.
Were you really?
Yeah. He and Lance Hunt and Lance was just a little out, and we were Lyle and I were dressed, but Lance wasn't. And your mother come busting in, rapped on the door. Are you decent? Yeah. And then she come in. Poor Lance climbed the wall.
My dad was a funny guy, but he said Al Lindberg is by far and away the best comedian, the best guy to hang around with.
You know, when Bob Hales was our pastor, we had a picnic down at Allen Park, and it was raining. And Lyle said, Bob, come here. He said, call the pastor over. He says, yeah, why don't you baptize us right now? Well, he says, if I thought for a minute couldn't get you 2 guys in the tank, I would.
So did you go to high school then in Jamestown?
No, my dad had a second grade education, and we were living on the farm at the time. During the Depression, we moved out. So I was second highest in 8th grade when we had our regents of all the rural schools. I went to bus time for 4 months. And so Mrs. Connolly was supervisor of the rural schools. And she spent about an hour with my mother and I that not to let me quit school. It was out of our hands. My dad was the boss. So, but I made up my mind what I lacked in education, I was going to make up in effort, I guess. But when I worked, I took 3 college courses in the matter of when I went to Jamestown Wholesale. I took a course in management. It was 6 months of study and 3 months of class, or 30 hours of classroom.
So that's what you worked at, Jamestown Wholesale?
Yeah, I managed that for about 12 years. I guess.
You're a pretty young guy then.
Well, no, I'd been in, well, I think it was about 1952 when I went down there or something.
Well, we just skipped a lot of time here, Al. So
yeah.
You went from schooling and you left school after 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Then what'd you do?
Well, I got a job. I was going to work on a farm, you know me. I was going to be a farmer, and my dad was sitting around being boss, you know. That's the way it was in Sweden. So then I got a job for a dairy, and I worked there for $10 a month in room and board. And at the first of the year, he couldn't pay me the $10. So my dad said, well, if you're going to work for nothing here, you can work for nothing at home. But then we went down, I got a job at Tillison's Furniture. So I worked there. I worked there until the NRA come in, and they had to pay me 23 cents an hour. So they left me out till I was 18. And then I used to go over and get Pop at Elmer Carlson's store. He was down on the corner of Barrett at the bottom of the hill. And so one day he's in there, he says, you like what you're doing? No, I says, I hate it. I was running a router. He said, well, how'd you like to go work for me? He said, I'm going back up in my old store. So that's the way it started. I guess that was the right move. I've been in the food business ever since.
Do you have a Lyle Peterson story I need to know about? Something that you reflect on and say,
Yeah. He tells a story about when one of the men at the shop died, and I guess he was retired. I don't know. So the guy, he just got married, I guess, and the guy's wife come down and wanted to know if they could help him with pallbearers, because they needed pallbearers. Well, yeah. So, and Lyle says, all I could get was what's his name?
Harry Carlson.
Huh?
Harry Carlson?
No.
Kirchhoff.
Yeah, Kirchhoff. You know. So he says, we figured, well, we get the preacher, he could help us carry it out, and the funeral home would have somebody. So we got down to the cemetery, and they were just, he said the preacher put the Bible under his arm and walked in front of the casket, and he was struggling along, getting it out of the church even. And he said, got down there and going up the hill to the soldier circle there, he says Kirchhoff fell down. and of course, the casket went sliding. But the way Lyle tells it, you know. So then he tells about the time he was in the snowmobile way up in the other end of the property there, and he says, I told Gladys, you know, if there was ever an emergency, to call me on that horn or whatever they had. So she started blowing it. And he said, there, I was bogged down with a snowmobile, and I couldn't get it loose, so I started running home. As he got down there, what's wrong? Well, he said, I want you to help me move a bed. So I could have killed her, he says. Well, on the way home from England, we had some seamen, and they wanted guys to volunteer for mess cooking, like the same Army KP, and nobody wanted to. So we said, Lyle Gray and myself said, you guys are volunteers, so we'll take care of it for you. So I don't know just what happened, but we had a cook from Jamaica or someplace. He spoke black guy. He spoke perfect British English, and so Lyle and I, we went down with an empty container and put a ham in it and started back with it. Here, this big colored cook come along. He said, "What do you got in there?" "Oh, nothing." What do you mean? No, I want to see that nothing. So we opened it up, and he said, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "Well, we're going to slice it and eat it." Well, he says, "I'll put on a slicer for you." Well, when we went to this, before we went to it, we told everybody to take a couple of extra slices of bread to bring back. So we had ham sandwiches later at night. We thought he could put a cleaver through us, but he said, "Well, you can't slice. I'll slice it for you."
Yeah. That's outstanding.